Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down 5 of the strongest team compositions for teamfight tactics for patch 9.16. Alright, so to start it off, the first composition is going to be Nobles. So Nobles did get a really nice buff in this patch. Armor and MR got increased by 10 from 60 up to 70. Vayne also got a buff. Kayle did get a small nerf, but overall Nobles are a lot stronger now in this patch. For your early game with this composition, it's pretty strong. You can grab your Vayne, Fiora, and Garen and get the very early 3 Noble buff. In the mid game, what you can look to do is try to find your Lucian. You can try to find your Leona as well. Vi is a very strong unit at the moment by herself, so just picking up a Vi and adding it to your composition here is never a bad option. As you make your way to the late game, obviously be looking out for that Kayle. You need the Kayle to finish off your 6 Noble buff. You can look out for a Jinx as well. If you can grab Jinx along with the Vi, it can be very strong for the late game. Just having that HEXTECH bonus in the late game can single-handedly end up winning you fights and end up winning you rounds. So I definitely recommend adding a Jinx and a Vi to this Noble composition. Both units are very, very strong on their own right now, so it makes it even that much better to add them to your comp. And then if you are able to find like a Force of Nature, or if you can get a couple Force of Natures, then you can also grab like a Braum in this comp. You can grab 2 Guardian. You're not always going to get the 2 Guardian bonus, and you don't need the 2 Guardian bonus in order to make this composition work. The main things you're just looking out for are the 6 Noble, and then be looking out for the Vi along with the Jinx there as well, and you should have a lot of success with this composition in 9.16. And then for key items for this composition, ideally you want to be trying to get a Rage Blade and a Sojourn on your Kayle. If you can't do that, it's not the end of the world. The composition can still work well. You can look to grab a Runins on your Vayne or on your Jinx. If you can buff up your Jinx with the Runins, that can be very strong. You can also grab a Static Shiv on your Vayne. You can buff up Lucian. Honestly, the only champion I wouldn't recommend buffing up with this comp would be Fiora. You can't really go wrong with buffing up anybody else. Alright, so taking a look at the second composition, it's going to be 6 Brawler, 3 Void, 2 HEXTECH, and 2 Gunslinger. So with the addition of Vi in this patch, you can now go for 6 Brawlers, and getting that 1000 extra HP on all 6 of your Brawler champions makes them super tanky. It gives you a very, very good front line. With this comp, you're going to be wanting to grab a Jinx as well for later on in the game. You're also going to want to grab a Misfortune, so you can get both the HEXTECH and the Gunslinger bonus. By having the Jinx and the MF to round out your comp, it just gives you a very nice backline, gives you a lot of damage, a lot of shred from your 2 backline champions. Well, you do have a great frontline as well, so you got all your tanky brawlers there who can soak a ton of damage, allow your Jinx and your Misfortune to do a lot of work in the backline. So for the early game with this comp, look out for your Warwick, grab the Void bonus there, so grab your Cass, Rek'Sai, and your Kha'Zix. In the mid game, be on the lookout for your Vi and your Cho'Gath, and then when you do reach the late game, or actually even earlier on in the game, obviously be looking out for that Blitzcrank because you do need him as well for the 6 Brawler bonus. But once you do reach the later stages, look out for that Volibear, the Jinx, and the Misfortune. And if you can get this composition, I honestly think it is one of the strongest, if not the strongest right now for 9.16. And then for who you should be looking to put your items on for this comp, there's honestly a lot of different options. So Cho'Gath, Vi, Jinx, Bully, and MF are the 5 I would try to prioritize putting items on. So grabbing a Morello on your Cho'Gath is great. Grabbing something like a Warmogs or a GA on your Vi is super good. If you can get a Hurricane, a Rapid Fire Cannon, or an Infinity Edge on your Jinx, that's what you should be looking to do. Misfortune pretty good there with an Archangel along with a Rabadons. And then for your Volibear, pretty strong with Red Buff. Cursed Blade is still pretty good option on him. So honestly, again, a lot of options for items with this composition here, but those are the 5 I would be looking to prioritize. So this next composition is going to be focused around your Blademasters and your Imperial. So this composition is more so of a mid to late game composition. You do need to make sure that in the early game, you're not just waiting until you get Blademasters or waiting until you get Imperials, because if you do that, chances are you're just not going to get past the early game. You're going to lose way too much HP. So in the early game, you do just want to grab whatever you can to get past that point. So ideally, you can grab the Noble buff with the Vayne, the Fiora, the Garen, grab the Darius as as well, so you can get your Imperial buff going there. In the mid game, you want to be on the lookout for your Aatrox and your Draven. If you can get those two, then you can start rounding out your composition pretty nicely. You can grab the Blademaster bonus with your Draven along with your Aatrox and your Fiora, and you can grab your Imperial bonus with your Darius and your Draven there. And then for later on in the game, put your Katarina in, be on the lookout for Swain. Swain is very important for this composition. If you can grab your Swain there in the late game, the comp really starts to come together. You get your 4 Imperial, you get your 3 Blademaster. If you got a level 2 Draven and you have items on him, then the comp becomes very, very strong. Now, in the perfect world, the 3 Blademasters you would want to have would be your Draven, your Aatrox, and your Yasuo. So that would be your 3 Blademasters for the late game. But depending on how the game is going, if you're not able to find any Aatroxes or you're not able to find a Yasuo, then you can run with different Blademasters as well. You can have a Shen, for example. If you're able to get like a bunch of Shens, if you get a level 3 Shen in there, then that can work too. If you're able to get a bunch of Camille's early game, then you can have her as one of your Blademasters. The one Blademaster I would definitely say you need to have with this comp would be the Draven, but for the Aatrox there and for the Yasuo, if you can't find them, then it's not the end of the world. You can still make the comp work with other Blademasters. And then to round it all out, look to grab a Yasuo and a Sejuani if you can. Those would be the perfect champions to round out the team composition. With the Sej, you can grab a Knight bonus. Yasuo is going to be very strong with the Blademaster bonus. And then as for items, you can look to grab a Gunblade on your Aatrox. That can be great. Runes right now on your Draven, super strong. You can grab a Guardian Angel on your Swain, also a Morello on your Swain. So the champions I would try to put items on with this comp would be your Swain, your Draven, or your Aatrox. So for the 4th composition, it's going to be another one that just became possible in 9.16, and it's going to be focused around your 6 shapeshifters. So 6 shapeshifter, you're going to be grabbing 2 Imperial, 2 Dragon, 2 Wild. You can also grab 2 HEXTECH if you find yourself getting like a Force of Nature, and you can put in a Jinx or put in a Vi. That can also be very strong for your late game with this composition. But for the early game, it's pretty easy to get the 3 shapeshifter bonus now. All you need is your Elise, your Nid, and your Jace, so that's pretty easy to do so. You can also look to grab a Camille too for the early to mid game, get that HEXTECH bonus there. For the mid game, be on the lookout for the Gnar and the Shyvana, and then later on, you do need that Swain to round out the comp. So some games it is going to be difficult to get that Swain, some games you're not going to find him. So in the later stages of the game, this team composition can end up falling off, but if you do manage to get this Swain, then it is going to be very strong there. You can also look to grab a Draven, Aurelion Sol. You can just have a very strong carry on your team with this comp. There's a lot of different carry options you can go for with this composition. And items for this composition, Gunblade can be very good on your Shyvana. Warmog's also great on Shyvana at the moment, along with Guardian Angel. Draven is never a bad option to buff up, so you can look to grab a Runaan's Hurricane on him. Swain also very good right now with either a Morello or with a Guardian Angel. Aurelion Sol still pretty good with a Spear of Sojin, can also do good with a Gunblade, so I would be looking to prioritize your Shyvana, your Draven, your Aurelion Sol, and your Swain with your items. And then lastly here to round it out, guys, is going to be a Ninja composition. So for Ninja, 3 Elementalists and 3 Assassin, those are going to be your main bonuses with this comp. So for your early game, grabbing your 3 Assassin bonus with your Kha'Zix, your Zed, and your Pyke. For the mid game, it pretty much all relies on you finding that Akali. Some games you're just not going to find an Akali and you're not really going to come online with this composition. So I would say it is one of the more riskier ones for sure. If you just can't find that Akali, then it's never going to work out for you. But if you can find the Akali, you can get your 4 Ninja, grab your 3 Elementalists in there, then the composition does really start to come online at that point. As you reach the mid game, you should be looking to get your Elementalist bonus, so be on the lookout for your Lissandra, your Kennen, and your Brand. As you do reach the late game, you can look to throw your Pyke back in there. So notice how in the mid game, I don't have Pyke in there at all. I also don't have the Kha'Zix, but depending on which one you do end up getting the most stars, like if you got a 3-star Kha'Zix, then in the late game, you can throw your Kha'Zix in there instead of Pyke. If you got your Pyke buffed up though, then you can put him in there. So there's a couple of different options as you do reach the late game. I would look to swap out your Brand for a Nivea though, so that you can get the Glacial bonus. If you keep your Brand in there and you also have a Lissandra, then you will be missing out on the Glacial. So if you do end up running into an Nivea, I would be looking to make that swap. And then items for this comp, it would be best to try and put them on your Akali, so grabbing an Archangel on her, grabbing a Morello, you can even grab a Ludens on her, those can be very strong. You can look to buff up your Zed too with an Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon. Sojin on Pike is still pretty decent. You can also grab a Morello on your Cannon, so I would look to put items on your Akali, but there's also a couple different options you do have there. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. Hopefully you did find this helpful. Hopefully you now have a pretty good idea of what compositions you should be looking to prioritize for 9.16. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be updating this for every single patch, so be sure you are subscribed so you do stay updated with the best comps for TFT. But with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.